All right, well, in exchange for the live video that really didn't go so well, but we got a lot of good information from it, so I'm gonna use this as an opportunity to add on to the live video, and then I'm gonna delete the live video. So let's talk about resupplies, your first 210 miles, and let's talk about gear first. And gear, this is for Nobos. You're gonna have your ice axe and your microspikes. We're not gonna talk about bear cans at all. Ice axe and microspikes, that depends on who has it and who doesn't. If you have an ice axe and microspikes, I say carry it to Campo with you. Be ready to send it to one of three places, probably only two places, one of three places, and that'll be PVC or Idlewild is your first place that you'll probably want to send it to, depending on the snow year, and we won't be able to tell where to go until about a week or upon your arrival to Campo. So give me a second to explain that. So you'll want to know how to send it from Campo to PVC or Idlewild if you have it. If you do not have microspikes and ice axe, then you'll want to know about the Trevor Spikes program and or how to obtain one. When you get to about Campo, you should have a plan on how to have microspikes and ice axe. If you have an early start date, you are more likely to need ice axe and microspikes at Mount St. Jack. If you need it at Mount St. Jack, there's likely that you're going to need it at Mount Baden-Powell too, outside of Wrightwood, and that's coming down off Mount Baden-Powell. A lot of times Mount Baden-Powell is easy to go up to watch the sunrise, and then it starts getting melty and slushy on the way down, and hikers have a hard time coming down Mount Baden-Powell. And then you'll likely not need an ice axe until you get to KMS, Kennedy Meadows South, or Lone Pine, depending on if the roads are open. I'll explain that later, but those are the three spots: Idlewild, Wrightwood, and Kennedy Meadows South. Okay, for your ice axe, if you have it ready for you to send out at Campo. If you don't have it, know how to get one by the time you get to Idlewild, which is about mile 158. So you have generally about 7 days to 2 weeks, about 10 days for the average hiker to get from Campo to Idlewild. All right, so that's your ice axe and microspikes. The next thing we discussed was rodents and ways to mitigate rodents in the desert. The easiest and best way to mitigate is a 3-factor program. One, you might consider having a bear-proof rodent-proof and or rodent-proof bag of some kind and or a odorless bag of some kind. And there's several examples of that. And Liz said that the Almighty was also rodent resistant, and so you might consider that. So basically having a rodent and or odor-proof container for your food. 2, be diligent about keeping your food. A lot of newbie hiker mistakes are made when you're eating candy bars or wrappers and you put them inside your vest pocket, and then the rats won't be able to get any food, but they're sniffing out for that food process. So you've got these wrappers that you've put in your vest pocket, and now they're going into your tent, chewing through your tent to get to whatever smells good, even though there's no actual food there. And then 3rd is don't camp where there's high use areas. So there's day use people, and a lot of them are just picnicking at high use campgrounds, and they leave so they don't see the mess they've created by attracting all sorts of rodents to their picnic table. And then you camp there and the rodents come and sniff out everything that you have. So it might not even be your fault, but it's the fault of other people. So if you avoid high use areas, if you're diligent with your cleanliness and your food stashes, and if you also use rodent proof or rodent resistant containers, then you're likely to have much less rodent issues than not have than have rodent issues. One of my bigger mistakes was a bear got to one of my food, didn't get to the whole thing, was able to scare the bear off. Had a little bit of food container. I thought it was good to eat. I ate it, and obviously the bear gave me something that I was not supposed to eat. Turned a 3-day trip into a 2-day trip, and learned my lesson about eating after animals nibbled off of my food. So, so that was a long time ago. So this was way before bear-resistant canisters came in. So anyway, that's another aspect. The other aspect is we talked about was water, and my suggestion is try to figure out how many miles you can hike with water, with how much water. So that I think most people use either 4 or 5 liter. Let's see, 1 liter for every 5 miles is the general consensus. But it's all up to you. If you can go with less, or if you need more, then you're going to have to figure that out. But a good rule of thumb is to have a idea of how many liters per mile that you're going to need, per 5 miles that you're going to need. And so that's an aside. Sure, I'll break in. Carry American water, because 1 quart weighs 2 pounds and 1 liter weighs 2.2 pounds. So if you carry American water, it's much less in weight, especially if you're carrying more than several quarts. So carry quarts instead of liters. All right, the heart of the issue, the discussion, is going to be your resupply. So Lake Morena is at 20 miles. And Mount Laguna is at 42 miles north, and Julian is at 77 miles. Julian's a fairly large town, or it's a medium-sized town, where they have grocery stores and a full resupply. So what I would look at, or this is my resupply strategy, is I would look at how many, if I didn't have these two, my worst case scenario is to pack for 77 miles. And then, since I know there's a restaurant at Lake Morena and there's a restaurant at Mount Laguna that includes vegan options for vegan folk, then I will subtract the meals I will eat. So I will subtract 77 miles worth of meals minus 1 meal here, if I'm only going to have dinner there, or 1 meal here, so subtract 2 meals. If I'm going to have, let's say, dinner and breakfast, then I'm going to subtract 2 meals. So it's 77 miles minus 4 meals. And then if I'm going to have, let's say I'm going to carry out, so I'm going to eat dinner, I'm going to have breakfast, I'm going to carry out lunch. So that's 6 meals, right? 3 here and 3 there. So I'm going to have 6 meals that I can subtract from my 77-mile carry. So that's how I normally think things out, and that's my resupply plan strategy. And I really wanted to do the live because I wanted to have other people's resupply plans so that you could pick and choose and mix and match the different resupply things. So maybe other people will do similar videos about their resupply strategy. The couple of things that we did mention that for planning out your resupply was Craig's PCT planner. I know there's several others. The one I recommended, the one Liz recommended, was Craig's PCT planner. And I'll send links down on all of the information that I can remember down below. There is also that vegan spreadsheet that I showed you that was from 2024. So apparently there's been one restaurant in Julian, a vegan restaurant in Julian, that's closed. I want to say Casey's or Callie's Garden, but I'm not 100% sure of the name. But it is closed, so watch out for that change in the vegan spreadsheet that I will share with you. All right, if you have any other questions, feel free to comment below. If you want to stay anonymous, DM me, and then I'll answer it and keep you anonymous. And like I said, there's no harm in asking whatever questions you have. So feel free to use the comment section to Barton back. And this is going to be in replacement of the live video, which I didn't think was very successful, just because I couldn't get the other two people on board that I wanted to get opinions from. But maybe you'll serve as an invitation for as many of you as possible to add your take on resupply packages. About sending boxes, there's a couple of fairly, I don't want to sound too proponent on, but just consider that you're going to spend time shopping for food, you're going to spend time shipping the food, you're going to spend money actually sending the food, and then you're going to have logistical issues retrieving your food, because a lot of times there's the post office has different hours. Now these are small town post offices, so even if they had normal post office hours, you're still going to miss out on like weekends and other issues. So me personally, I would minimize the number of boxes to a bare minimum. You will need to send boxes in Oregon and Washington, but up until you get to Oregon and Washington, I don't think you need to send any resupply boxes that I know of. I can certainly help out if you have ride or die items or things that are medications to send to different things. That's basically how I got involved with all of the resupply logistics of the PCT. However, even like Agua Dulce has a grocery store now, a fairly large grocery store and eatery in Agua Dulce. That used to be the kind of a dry food section of the PCT, but now with the grocery out space there. I know last year a lot of people, actually 2 years now, a lot of people sent resupplies to Hikertown, and I'm still having a hard time trying to figure out why people are sending resupplies to Hikertown, because you're only 42 miles and 56 miles away from Tehachapi. From Hikertown to Willow Springs is 42 miles, and from Hikertown to Cameron Trailhead is Highway 58 is like 56 miles, I think. And so I would not send a heavy resupply. I would try to go into the desert, especially the aqueduct section and the hilly parts after the aqueduct section. I would try to do that as light as possible. So I wouldn't send a resupply there. I would eat well in Hikertown at the two places in Hikertown. They're factions, I should say, two factions in Hikertown in that area to eat at, and then I would go with a full stomach out into the desert with as light of a backpack as possible. So that's my take on resupplying for the first couple of miles, or at least in the desert section, and then if I can answer any more of your questions, that'd be great. If other people have different resupply strategies, please feel free to either create your own video or make a comment. If you even want to stay anonymous with anything, just DM me and I will share it under a pseudonym if I have to, or I'll pretend it's mine. Okay, cheers, see ya. Have fun, guys. I want to be supportive. We all want to be supportive, and I can't wait for you to meet some of the most amazing trail angels on the PCT. Cheers, see ya.